Good morning, all. How are you? And welcome to the This Way Network. I'm Rodney Allen Rippey. We got the one and only, the FBI unicorn herself. Tracy's on with us, and you're watching the chat session. And today we've got with us Mr. Cale Harris. He's a very, very special guest. And today is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for friends and family to celebrate the life of a dear, dear friend, the one and only Mr. Mike Owens, and he is known as the King of Kansas. And so, how you doing, Tracy? How's everything?
Doing well. I've had a week of being sick, so I'm glad to be upright. So this is good. And of course, Nina is under the weather today, so she asked me to step in, and just prayers for her to get well soon. We live in Alabama, and these pollens have got everybody sick. So welcome to spring.
That's right. Well, hey, Nina, I know you're watching. We love you. Rest well, get some coffee or tea or something like that, and feel better. And again, this is a very, very special show. We want to start out we've got incredible people on here. A big shout out. We've got people here from Chloe and Kelly Owens and wow, Elena and Winnie. Boy, so many great people. These are so many new people that are on here. Kevin O'Brien, dear friend of the King of Kansas. Carrie, one of our diehards. So many people. Man, Jacqueline, all of our, Bates boy, thank you so much for celebrating. Robert, more friends of the King of Kansas. We've got AC Cruz. I can go on and on and on. Elvira. Oh, man, so many great people. Everybody, we got people all around the world literally on. And today, we're not going to belabor the point. We got a very, very special young man here. And I had the pleasure of being introduced to him through, of course, Mike Owens. And this young man, his name is Cale Harris. And Cale, please tell us a little bit about yourself. And is it so? Are you from the wonderful state of Kansas as well?
I am indeed from Baldwin City, Kansas, where I first met Mike. So I'm 24 years old. I'm currently a grad student, but I went to high school in Baldwin. My dad worked at the school, and that's why I first met Mike as a janitor. Of course, as I'm sure you're aware, he worked as a janitor, and I'm sure many people are aware. He worked as a janitor there, and he was kind of he was eccentric. Obviously, there were people that didn't really know what to think of him. They were kind of turned off by him. But I've always kind of been drawn to these kind of bizarre, local, eccentric people, and so I remember actually the moment I first started talking to Mike. I was sitting in a classroom by myself. I don't know why. I think it was after school had ended or something, but I was playing some music, and that obviously caught his attention. As we know, Mike was a prolific musician. I think, and I remember it was Electric Light Orchestra. So he comes in and he goes, "Is that Electric Light Orchestra?" And I go, "Yeah." And so we start talking, and whenever he wanted a piece of information for me to have, he would grab a piece of paper and just start listing things. So he grabbed a piece of paper and he has in his all caps handwriting, he writes the Romantics, Devo, and I think Electric Light Orchestra or something. And he was like, "You got to listen to these." And I was like, "Okay, thanks, Mike." So that's my earliest memory of actually communicating with Mike.
Wow. I tell you, Cale. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Tracy.
Cale, do you know where Derby, Kansas is?
Yeah. I've heard that name. It's Western Kansas, right?
It's actually just outside of Wichita, about 30 minutes outside of Wichita. I went to high school there.
Oh, okay,
So
gotcha.
I'm an old Kansas girl. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Wow. So
And my last name's
there's a
Baldwin
wonderful,
for my maiden name. So that's the tie to county you're in.
Yeah, there you go.
that is so cool. I mean, there's a great Kansas connection, and I have to tell you how I met Mike too.
Mhm.
His brother Mark, God rest in peace, rest in power, Mark Owens. It was years ago. It was really, being on social media, people reach out to you that maybe you don't know. Maybe it was people from your past, high school, church, somewhere you've met somebody on a job somewhere, and people kind of look you up and they find you. So honestly, I get kind of hit by a lot of different people reaching out to me. Some I know, some I don't know, some were from my past in different, aspects of business or whatever. And one day I really didn't notice, but there was a friend request from somebody, and it was a while, and it was actually my birthday. So on my birthday, I get a lot of birthday requests, and so I was trying my best to kind of reply to different people, and there was a Mark Owens, and I said, and it was a birthday wish, so I kind of click on this thing, and I found out that this thing had been in my friend request for over a year. It was almost like 2 years. And I was like, gosh, this guy's been trying to reach me for like 2 years. So I click on and, thanks for the birthday wish. And so he goes live when he sees me respond live. And we started talking. And so that was Mark Owens. And this is Mike's twin brother. And so he started telling me that he was from Kansas and he had followed my career. And I really told him I appreciate that. And so, and soon, it wasn't long, he says, I want to introduce you to my twin brother. And I was like, your twin brother? You got a twin? He's like, yeah. So next thing you know, now we're three-way chatting with Mike. And so I got Mike Owens and Mark Owens on. And so we're talking, and these guys are just one of a kind. So I started asking them questions. I said, well, what do you guys do? And they were like, oh man, we play music. And I was like, really? And they said, yeah, back in the day, we had a band, the Owens Brothers, and they started talking about it. And they were like, it's not Hollywood, but we're pretty well known here for what we did. And I was like, really? And I said, did you guys ever release anything? And they were like, yeah. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, we played a lot of local gigs. And so they started sending me their promo material and sending me some songs and pictures. And I mean, really, they had that 70, 80-ish classic rock sound. And I was like, wow. I said, you guys had some pretty good writing, and I was like, and for me, all around the world, literally, there are people who have talent. And, you go, well, what's the difference between this young man or this woman and these other people who have record deals? I mean, I'm like, the music was great. The presentation was great. And I said, so getting to know Mark and Mike over the years, it was always about their creativity. And then they started talking about, just for novelty, they were always shooting video and clips and things like that. And I'm sure that his family and friends probably know all about this. And so they were always amusing themselves, but they were always involved in some type of creative pursuit. And getting to know Mark and Mike over time, you really saw these local guys there in Kansas who really enjoyed different forms of production, different things that they really, really got into, and they produced and shot. Matter of fact, they even shot this like a war movie. They're out and they created this scene, and I was like, you guys are really creative just to be novel guys just knocking around with cameras and things. So, and I really hope that we'll be able to circle back to some of these wonderful video clips and things like that. But over time, getting to know these guys and Mike and Mark, they were always so gracious, introduced me to family members and other friends of theirs, and like some of the people who were on. and they just were really, 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 really wonderful people. And then it was it was a tragedy. I get a call from Mike, and he told me that his brother had passed away, and it was heartbreaking. When I heard that Mike called me, he was just distraught, as anybody would be. And I thought to myself, I was like, wow, what must it be like to lose a brother, but also a twin? So me and many of Mike's friends, we rallied around Mike, of course, to keep him together, try to keep him focused, and just tell him, say, look, man, nobody has these answers. Why the Lord calls people home, when he does it, why he does it, how he does it, no one ever knows. I said, but the thing is, you must carry on. And so we were always there to remind him that, Mark would want him to go on, and Mark would, I just told him, I said, you'll never forget, and we'll never forget, because we're referencing different things. And so as time marched on, we really developed a lot of friends, and there were milestones and holidays, and it was just wonderful knowing Mark Owens. And so, and then after Mark passed away, we started spending a lot of time, different people, me included, would converse with Mike. And so, and Mike was even bigger. Mike had an even bigger, crazier personality than Mark. And he was always doing stuff. And he was a fan of Red Baron Pizza and Burger King. And Mike could go anywhere in his little town and meet people. And it was like he was living in a movie the whole time. And he would tell me, man, you know what happened today? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wow. And so eventually that's where, I guess, Cale, you had met Mike. That was my little story about Mike. And sadly, we got the tragic news recently that Mike had passed away. And I just said, you know what? We got to get his friends together and family members. I hope his mom's on here. God bless her, and everything that she's been through. But I really, really hope that, and I see, and Bates Boy says, I know Cale Harris. So, hey, now you're a rock star. So, there's a couple of people there. And again, Julia, we got Julia on. And so many different people. And eventually I've got to be very careful because I do want to go back and get some of the comments. But Cale, if you can, how did this whole King of Kansas project happen? How did this documentary kick in?
Yeah. So, so like I said, I was aware of Mike and Mark in high school, but I really didn't get close to them until, I would say, I guess it would have been, I started working at the liquor store in town. It's just like a part-time job. And Mike would come in there. As I'm sure we all know, Mike liked his liquor, for better or for worse. And so I would see him in there a lot, and we would hang. I mean, he had this kind of, this confidence to like talk to anybody and try and mess with anybody, again, for better or worse. I mean, he would make some people uncomfortable in the liquor store, and I can see why. But like, I always kind of chuckled to myself. And when people did think it was funny, it was also good. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said he thought he was living in a movie. He was the main character in his own movie, even before I suggested the idea of an actual movie. So, but the more I started learning about him, I just realized it was this rabbit hole. I was like, this guy is a story. Like this guy, the stuff that I keep learning about this guy could fill a feature-length film. And so it was almost kind of a joke. It started out as a joke because I started it when I was like 22, and it was just like, a friend and I were kind of like, what if we made a Mike Owens documentary? And we would post on Facebook and be like, Mike, you want to have a documentary? and so, but eventually we were like, okay, we started meeting, got together, filmed stuff. We would just sit out on his back porch, and he would tell these like wild, crazy stories, and eventually we just kind of threw it together, and we were like, okay, then we need to start interviewing your circle of celebrities here. You have you obviously, Rodney, Kai Michelson, and yeah, he was, I mean, he had this obsession with fame. That was interesting to me. He liked knowing people, he liked getting people together, and he
Right.
and he had he put you guys on a really high pedestal, and that was interesting to me. I think the King of Kansas it's about unactualized potential in a lot of ways, because it's like you said, they have this, both the Owens brothers have this kind of crazy intuition about things. Mike would always kind of be, talking to me on Facebook, and message after message, and it was like, okay, sometimes I can't talk right now, Mike, but other times it's like, this is wildly entertaining, and that's well, anyway, the question gets raised, I suppose, as to like, would they be happier just kind of where they were? I almost feel like the fact that they had each other to entertain themselves was more important than any kind of idea of making it or whatever. I know. I mean, in the documentary, Rodney, you talk a lot about like the possibility of Mike making it, figuring how to organize something, and I think that's, I mean, because you were obviously a very positive influence on him, and he did take a lot of that to heart. But at the same time, it does make me wonder, like, because then Kai, it's fun, the dichotomy between the way you talk about it and the way Kai talks about it, because Kai kind of almost has this perception of like, well, maybe he was just happier where he was, you know what I mean? And so I don't know, but I do think Mike's state got a lot worse after Mark passed, and no wonder, because like I said, they had each other to entertain each other, and once I don't know, it's like half of Mike was gone once Mark and
they were competitive in a creative nature. That's what I found out, that they tried to one up each other, as I'm sure as brothers do, but yet they were still capable of working together. But when they started getting older, they really started to kind of set in their own different pathways. But Mike seemed to be, really dogmatic about creative stuff. Now, this is another. There were so many different sides to him to Mike, that I told him, and I'm like, being here in Hollywood, I said, Mike, there's no difference between you and anybody else who cranks out a project, an idea, a concept. Meeting you, Cal, there's no difference between you or any other young man who's producing content that gets picked up, turned into major movies, or adapted in some kind of way. So when Mike kept talking about this, I said, Mike, make your own way. I said, and then there's a wonderful girl that's on, and her name is Elvira. And Elvira, she is out of Poland, and she knew Mark Owens in the beginning initially, and I guess Mark had introduced her to his circle, which is his brother Mike. And after Mark passed away, Elvira became friends with Mike. And the crazy thing about it was Mike was doing the same thing, talking about his crazy life and all these things. And Elvira said, you know what? You're the King of Kansas. And that's all it took. It stuck like glue. Mike said, yeah, I am the king, and he just became this persona, and he loved that, and he wanted people to know that he was the king of Kansas. And now, but the one amazing thing about him, and Mike was just a guy living in an everyday community in Kansas out there in Baldwin. But the incredible thing, I'm telling you, I have met a lot of people in my time, and they know people, and they know. Let me tell you something. Mike Owens knew some of the most unique, huge people. And I'm like, how I couldn't even, I had no clue. And one person off the top, Kai Michelson. Kai Michelson is the only man in the world history as a civilian to put a rocket into space. This dude knew Buzz Aldrin and people like that, and he done shook hands with all kind of people and movie stars. And I said, Mike, how the heck did? And Mike was not greedy. A lot of people who know people like Scott Truax, and Scott Truax's daddy had something to do with Evel Knievel when he jumped over the canyon. Remember when Evel Knievel had that rocket and almost made it? Well, Scott Truax was part of that. He knew, and Mike, a couple years back, said, Rodney, I want to introduce you to my friend Doug Danger. And I'm like, who? And I was like, Doug Danger. I said, I've heard this name. I thought it was a joke. He goes, no, he's a daredevil. You got to meet this guy. And I was like, Mike. And I told Mike, I said, Mike, why do you want me to meet your people? You need to develop these people. Those are your contacts. No. I want you to have. And I was like, but Mike, these are your friends. No, my friends are your friends. And I'm like, okay, Mike. And so he was constantly calling people on Facebook and connecting me with people. And it had to be some type of special meaning to this. And I said, okay, most people are like, oh, I don't have time with this. I'm too busy. Some people, they get too big in their own head. I'm too big for this. I'm like, wait a minute. I started looking at the level of people that Mike knew. And then he starts talking to me, and he's like, oh yeah, I know Robbie Knievel. I know Robbie Knievel's daughter. I'm like, or granddaughter or something like that. And I was like, dude, how do you meet all these people? And so I believe that Mike would spend a lot of time, and he would dig into just researching people, and he would contact them and befriend them, and they'd become friends. And then he just shared their things. And again, and Richard Baker, good morning. I just want to make sure that I'm just acknowledging some people. Toomer Zimmerman, thank you for being on with us. Richard, again, so many different people. And Kevin O'Brien, I know he says, I wouldn't go for that, but I do throw a few, I threw a few leagues and blind draws. Okay, he's talking about something else. Somebody's talking with him, but Robert's on. And again, these are wonderful people that knew him. Leonardo Ochoa, shout out to you too, man. And there are so many different people who knew him. Julia, hello from PL. Hi from PL. Wow. And again, Elvira, she's from Poland, and we've got people from Poland all around. Wow. Yako, Yako, Darako says hello from Poland. Wow, man, this is just wonderful. Again, this is a celebration of life for Mike Owens, King of Kansas. I hope his family's watching this. And this thing is going to be podcasted forever right here on YouTube, on the This Way Network. Again, I'm Rodney Allen Rippey. We're on with the FBI Unicorn. Tracy, she's my co-host today. Normally, Nina's on with us. And this is a very, very special show. And again, we got, Kyle Harris, and man, we appreciate you doing the work that you've done with this. We got people from Thailand, Chloe Jasper, Thailand. Hey, welcome. And again, what I really wanted to try to get up a couple of clips here, and I had some things here Let me see if I
Can I
can
ask
pull up something. Is I have.
Hale, can I ask you
Go
a quick
ahead, and I'm going to
question?
pop up a couple pictures.
Go for it.
Mhm.
Okay. So you were talking about on Facebook that you had the connection, when you were kind of getting a lot of stuff and then some stuff and whatever. When did it actually shift to where you said, okay, this is a guy I'm going to chat with for a while, to this is a guy I'm going to do a documentary about?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Because I think because I was with my friend, a couple friends, and we started brainstorming it. And so just because we were kind of bored and so we started thinking about what would this actually look like. So I have a friend, Ryan Todd, who also would talk to Mike a lot, and I think Ryan was talking to Mike a lot more kind of before I was. He would call him on Facebook and stuff. I never really, I don't get on Facebook a whole lot. So, but I think Ryan was talking to Mike a lot. And so in the midst of our brainstorming, I think Ryan starts messaging Mike and is like basically translating all the ideas we're saying to Mike on Facebook and trying to like prime him for this idea. And of course it doesn't take Mike very long to like obviously he's into it, right? He wants to be the star of something. And
Right.
so I think that's kind of how it started. And then it was like, we kind of went along with our lives for a little bit and didn't do anything until I think the fact that Ryan like primed him like that while we were talking about it kind of made it happen, because Mike was really the one that was like, come on guys, let's do this. Let's get together. Let's shoot. And so we're like, all right, fine. Let's just do it. And so one day, just kind of spontaneously, so my dad is a journalism teacher. So we borrowed one of his cameras and we went to, we couldn't find anywhere to shoot. So we went to Burger King because we were like, this would be funny, right? Because Mike is iconically a Burger King frequenter. So we did an interview there. We never really ended up using much of that footage though, because the audio was not great. And also I think we messed up we didn't press the right button on the camera or something. So I think we just kind of started using my phone because it was like, this is a lot easier. The audio is fine. Plus, and it was easier to get more dynamic stuff and kind of stuff on the fly, like when we visit stuff in the trailer and stuff like that. It was just easier to get the spontaneous stuff that you maybe not would not have gotten if you kind of planned too hard about it. And I think that's a lot of what the charm of the footage we got was like just very, very spontaneous Mike's ramblings and his interactions with various Baldwinites. So but yeah, that's more or less how that snowballed into the actual project.
So this wasn't storyboarded. This was just go hang out with your friend.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we made a list, right, of like questions we wanted to ask, things we wanted to cover. But we almost found like when we tried too hard to stick to the list, it didn't have the same energy. And so we were like, let's start. We just started more naturally evolving towards, let's just try and shoot us hanging out, laughing, talking, and see what that gets us. And it actually turned into something that
well, that's great that you're willing to shift to go with what works and not just be so focused on one thing that you don't get an actually good product.
Yeah, I tend to not I don't like being too dogmatic about things like that. So I think the fact that we started doing it more the other way was lent a good energy to it.
Great.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm trying to get up a clip of Mike and see if I can get this thing up. I think I might have it. Hold on. Yeah, I got this. Hey, everybody. Here's a little clip. This is like a little excerpt from the King of Kansas. And as a matter of fact, I was telling Mike from the get-go, I said, Mike, let me tell you something. I said, brother, when you do this documentary, I told him, I said, I really want you to get your producer and your director. I said, Mike, hook up with your local movie theater. Go in and talk to the general manager. Try to rent a screen. Have a screening there in Baldwin. I said, bring a little Hollywood there. I said, dude, do a red carpet. Release it. I told him, I promised him I would come. I wanted to be there. I wanted to stand there and see this doggone red carpet and go, this crazy guy did this thing. He did it. And you know what? That means more to me than a lot of these fat cats out here in Hollywood, because they've got access, they got friends, they got people, and doggone it, you know, Kale, you and Mike and the collection of people did it. Here's a little clip from the King of Kansas documentary, okay, featuring Mike Owens. Let's see if this thing will play. Hopefully this thing will load and play. Hold on, it's trying.
Kind of live in. Made this one. It was all beat up, and he said it was full of Play-Doh, and he had to soak it. To get all the gunk out of it for a couple of days. He soaked it, and he did this for my birthday, and he painted it himself and put the King of Kansas on there, put my emblem on there, which is really cool. It's a really, really cool. It was a birthday gift. That is very cool.
Arco homegrown on today's new rock, the X95.3.
Well, I've had my share of thing as a woman. You won't just wind up leaving.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
Around some, since I met you, girl.
Yeah, I used to middle detect.
My ways
Oh, yeah.
turn over my whole world. I wish I could start. You sweeten this bitter heart. 'Cause I'm a believer now. You set yourself so far apart from the other girl somehow. You sweeten this bitter heart. Now for a while I had forgotten what love was all about, and I have had good reason for thinking I could do without. But there'll be no more, it's true, for I have met no woman who loves me like you do. Now that you had given this country boy a bright light, will you sweeten this bit? 'Cause I'm a believer now. You set yourself so far apart from the other girl. You sweeten this bitter heart. Yes, I'm a believer now. You set yourself so far apart. The other girl, you this bitter heart.
The X95.3, little different type of tune, but it's still a local band. The Owens brothers, originally from Kansas,
Kale, it's so fun to see your face
Well, as
when
you
you
can
watch
see,
that. It's like you were there. I could see
wow.
like when you were doing it.
Yeah. Mike
I
still
mean,
cracks me up.
Is this jumping on you guys?
Mike
Because
was
it is
there.
so spotty on the
Yeah,
stream.
it was a little laggy, but
Okay.
And listen, hold on. We're not gonna worry about this. First of
Yeah.
all, Kale, what I want you to do, if you haven't, I want you to put the link. Can you pull up the link
Yeah.
so that the King of Kansas, and I want you to drop this in the chat. Everybody listen. Don't worry
Sure.
about it. It's just the way of the internet. It's just the way of the world. But I want you to understand, I really want you to watch this. And we're going to try to even go on to Facebook and to post this on Mike Owens' front page. And we want everybody to, if you can, go to find Mike Owens in Kansas, Baldwin City, Kansas, and make sure that you watch the King of Kansas documentary. Again, this was produced and directed by the one and only Mr. Cale Harris, local guy doing big things, man, because look, you did it. I mean, you guys worked on this project for a while. I have to give you your props for that. There's a lot of people in Hollywood who talk it and they can't walk it. You guys did it. You guys actually took a concept, no budget, small budget, and put this doggone thing together. You deserve all the kudos and respect. And I hope that somebody really picks this thing up. I really mean that. I really hope someone picks up the project and gets it out there. Like I was telling you, Kale, you need to throw that thing into some local festivals. I know that you said that you were thinking about doing that. I really wish you all the best because it's a very interesting story. Mike gets very deep into it. He had some, as many people do, have some personal demons and feelings from the past. And it's just, you see this thing play out. You really do see his story come alive from him talking about his childhood. And one thing about Mike that was so unique, Mike shared with me that he was an avid, what do you call, metal detector. He used to go out in the freaking woods and go places. And he's like, oh yeah, man, I found a button off of a World War I jacket,
All
and
kinds
I
of
was
treasures.
like, yeah, I mean, this dude found arrowheads and just some of the craziest things, coins and jewelry. And he had this whole spread on his bed of things that he found. And you know what? I was telling Mike, I said, Mike, I'm telling you, I said, just listening to him talk, I started getting so many different creative ideas. But I'm so glad that he hooked up with you, Mr. Harris, and that you guys put that thing together. And so continue. I don't want to eat up too much of time. Continue chatting. Go ahead, Ben.
It's fine. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm glad it happened too. I think it's I think the film is an sort of intimate portrait of him in a lot of ways. I think I like the kind of what's the word, mise en scène of it all, right? It's just kind of like you're just watching him exist, more or less. You're sort of a fly on the wall, and so that's kind of the way I wanted it to be. But anyway, yeah.
What did he say about it?
He loved it, and
Yeah?
I'm really glad that I was able to show it to him, because I showed him the final product only probably 3 weeks or so before I heard the news.
Oh wow.
And because I was being a little bit of a perfectionist about it, and like being like, all right, Mike, let's be patient. Let's try and get the best thing we can. I was still, so, there were some things I wanted to maybe tweak about it, but when I heard the news, I was like, okay, I just need to get this out here and for everyone to see. And so I did, but he loved it. And he was kind of he was embarrassed. Actually, when I went over to show him, at first he didn't want his mom to see it because he was like he wanted to make sure he wouldn't be embarrassed by anything. But he ended up loving it, which and he was cracking up, dying laughing. Even the parts that were sort of more intimate and maybe even harder for him to watch, he still got a kick out of it, and I think I'm glad he got to see it. So
what a blessing.
And I have to say, he loved his mom very, very much, and and his family, his sister, and his friends, and I mean, and Mike, he had no problem. He had no qualms with telling you, I mean, I really love you, man. And I was like, is that your well, I forgot what his favorite beer was. I was like, that's not your beer talking, is it? But he was just, no, man, I really love you. I appreciate, man, you're the best friend in the world. And I was like,
oh,
Mike, just take care of yourself. I really wanted him to, get after his dreams. And, I tell you, there's a very, very powerful lesson that I learned in this. There's certain people who he was very, very vocal about this, and it worried me. And I was just like, Mike, will you quit talking like that? And he kept talking like, man, if I could do this documentary, man, that's all I want in life. I'm done after that. I was like, will you quit saying stuff like that, Mike? I swear he would say stuff. It would make my skin crawl. And I was like, come on, Mike. I said, this is just one thing that you knock off and you'll go on and do other things. But he was just like, nope, I just want to do this. And I'm like, but Mike, there's more. You can travel, you can do other things, you can create stuff. I said, Mike, do you know how valuable you are? So I was always trying to pour into him and affirm in him that, look, Mike, you got talent. And again, he wanted to be the king of Kansas promotion. I said, okay, Mike, I said, start promoting. One thing that I regret that he didn't do, we started talking about this a year ago. I said, Mike, in your name, launch the King of Kansas toy drive. I said, I don't care if you don't get but 50 toys, help 50 families. I said, I told him in January, I said, start working on this, Mike. I said, you want fame? Do something for the community. I said, put up in your name, the King of Kansas, Mike Owens toy drive. And I said, nobody can poo-poo that away if you literally start gathering things. I said, go to stores, go to people. And I told Mike, I said, I want to see you do this. And then he was talking about his little liquor store that he always goes to. I said, hey, Mike. And he was always eating hot dogs. So I'm trying to work on creative marketing stuff with him. And I said, Mike, all right, you love the hot dogs? Contact the hot dog company. Do a hot dog and beer day at your freaking liquor store. Find a beer distributor and I said, throw up a little band and say it's the King of Kansas promotion. He loved all these ideas, but I think he was so fixated, he felt stuck. And I said, don't be stuck, dude. You can do this. I told him, I will remotely work with you on this. I said, I promise you. But Mike had so much stuff going on. But needless to say, Gail, it's for you to continue to carry the flame and for his family and friends and stuff like that. And hopefully to carry on Mike's legacy, because the dude was freaking phenomenal. Keep chatting. I hope I'm going to try to pull up another clip. Keep going.
Yeah, Mike definitely would get fixated. And he was, I'd probably describe Mike as an ideas man, right? He has lots of grandiose ideas, but he did always feel he needed people around him to kind of execute and to support. He felt like he needed that. Without that, I feel like maybe he didn't always have the confidence to actually execute some of his ideas. So I tried to I tried to be that for him as best I could. But yeah, I mean, Ronnie was saying he would get fixated, and it was hard to like. It's like, all right, yeah. I mean, but yeah, Mike, this is, you know, you this is not the end all be all, you know, of
Right.
you know, you.
But it just shows that that's where he was at that moment. That's what's in his mind, that he wants that completed so that doesn't go on the wayside. And you were that person to make it come to fruition. So fantastic. Because otherwise it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Gang,
right.
hey, listen, I don't want, I'm going to try something. I'm going to pull us down. I'm going to throw up another King of Kansas clip again. Producer, director, Mr. Cale Harris, working with the one and only King of Kansas, Mike Owens. I'm going to pull us down. I got another clip here, and we're going to stage this thing. Be right back. Check this out, everybody. Here's another clip from the King.
And cement on my grave. You are one of the coolest people I ever met and the best friend I ever had. And you added a link to a YouTube video, Ice Cube, Can You Dig It?
Back in that day, and he grew up watching Rodney on TV. And back in that day, Rodney Allen Rippey was the first, other than Buckwheat from the Little Rascals, Rodney was the first kid ever to have the opportunity to take a position and be noticed as somebody that was a platform that was commercials. And as a black kid, you know, a lot of the black kids back then recognized Rodney as they admired him. Look at Flavor Flav, and you got a lot of guys a lot of big time entertainers, man, still remember him. Anyway, he set a mark, and people admired him. What was the question? Honestly, I would love for Rodney Allen Rippey to put on either, not necessarily if I'm buried or not, or burned, whatever. Cremated. Put his prints on my final thing. Because I have that much respect for that man. I really do. Mojinia, Mojitat, Nivian.
You know, I have to tell you, you know, Mike is just he was just a phenomenal guy, man. And
Looks like you got something to do, Rodney.
Yeah, you know what? I'm telling you the truth. If his mom and family decide to do something like that and to be able to, I tell you, for him, I would go do that for him because Mike is a great guy, man. And I just, I guess it's weird in life. You meet people, and you know, then people are not always there. They're going, you know, that's why you have to, when you meet somebody, be it family members, friends, you got to take that stuff seriously because any of us could be gone tomorrow. It does it in 1/10 of a second. Boom, you're out of here, and you're on to the next life. And so I just hope and pray that Mike is hooked up again with his brother and all of his loved ones. And I'm sure he's probably such a character up there in heaven. He told me, he did tell me he's got a lot of questions for God. And I told him, I said, well, brother, what you need to do, work on getting there. Make sure that you right. So when you get there, you get to stay. You can hang out with him. That's the goal. You really want to be able to hang out, have plenty of time to talk to him, enjoy all the great creation because Mike is such a character. I want to go back. I'm sorry, folks. There's people I want to read some of the comments. It says, Robert, me and Ochoa known them since I was like 16, I think. I used to sneak out my grandparents' house every night to go to their house and hang out and watch them play in the garage. Wow. Robert Raff.
Oh,
So these are just people recanting and telling stories. True story. Robert said definitely left their mark in his life. Life's gonna miss them both. Oh man, very talented. Ah man, Scott Truax's dad, Bob, built Evil Knievel's Two Sky Cycle for the 1974 jump. Wow. Thank you for that bit of information, Daryl C. Again, everybody, this is just Rodney. You're a very humble man. Oh, thank you. This ain't about me. This is about the King of Kansas. Wow. Daryl said, Rodney, I met you on a video call with Mike and Elvira from Thailand. That's right. A few months ago. Man, incredible. You know what? Everybody, this is just the time. Please let if you can post something about Mike. We're in the last 6 minutes of this. Tracy, please jump in. Kale, say anything.
well,
you
I
want.
do want to say something, Kale, because I don't know if you realize the blessing that you are to the people who know Mike. Um, I've learned that with FBI Unicorn, because on my channel, I do inspirational stories with people, and the last gentleman that we did his interview, he passed away about 8 days after we did the interview. That was his last good day that I was there to do that. And my mom passed away in 2010. And of course, video and phones and everything have changed so much since then, but I don't have her voice. And I miss that. I miss I get chills. I just miss being able to hear her voice. And you've put down something that when people miss Mike, they can go watch that. When his mom is thinking about him, she can go and hear his voice. And that is just a treasure. So I hope you understand that. I hope it blows up for you and is fantastic and distributed. But even if it's not, you are making a huge difference and a huge blessing in those people's lives. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't really think that hit me until I saw everyone, his family members and things responding to it. But that is, I'm glad, and that really is more important to me than kind of it, becoming big or anything like that. And again, back to what I was trying to do with it. This like. The fact that it is so raw and intimate is really like you're just sitting there with Mike. It's not really edited a whole lot. So it's that I think adds to the
charm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So have you gotten to talk with his mother?
So I haven't, but a friend, Kim Baugh, reached out to me and said Patsy was wanting a copy or something. And so, yeah, I can, I was planning on reaching out to her. I added her on Facebook. But yeah, I'm definitely going to try and get in touch with her. Cause I haven't talked to her since I went over that day to show Mike the finished product, but yeah.
So how recent was this that he passed away?
So I heard it would have been the Friday before St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, wow.
That's when I got the news. And so because I remember it was a weird St. Patrick's Day. It didn't really feel like St. Patrick's Day, but I that was the day I remember that I released it.
Hey, gang, listen, I got to jump in. This is Miss Patsy Owens. This is Mike Owens' mom. And can you say something? You're on your audio phone.
Hi, Patsy.
You there, Patsy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Say something, Patsy.
Well, I had to give up watching for a while. I'll watch it later. But it's, Shelley said she couldn't watch it either. She says she's not ready, We're still dealing with it, and it still hurts really bad.
Yeah. Can you say something, Patsy? Patsy, can you say something? One thing about Mike, because he was really, really hoping that the documentary told the story, but he really wanted you all to know how much he loved you.
Well, I think that we all don't say that often enough. But I have to say the last time that Shelley spoke to him, that she was angry with him, but she did say before she hung up, "I love you." And I had said it. And the day that he passed, we didn't have any bad words at all. It was really nice.
Good.
I don't realize how this happened,
Right.
But we may never know. So.
Well, God bless you. I just wanted to bring you on. This is the wonderful mom of the one and only King of Kansas. This is the mom of the king. We had to bring her on. Thank you, Patsy. God bless you. And I know it's a lot to take in.
Well, I really appreciate seeing all the people comment there. It's been really an awakening for me.
Yes.
Now you're making me cry.
Well, hey, we're here for you, and make sure that everybody make sure that you go and check out Mike Owens on Facebook. Make sure that you watch the King of Kansas documentary. And thank you, Patsy, for being on with us. Thank you for letting me call you.
God bless you, Patsy.
Thank you, Rodney, for being a good friend to Mike and Mark.
All right. God bless.
Love you.
Love you too. Wow.
That's a grief you can't even begin to understand, for her to lose both of her children.
Yeah, I relate with having tinges of regret. Like I've looked at Mike and I's last conversation, and just kind of been like that. That was the last time I talked to him, and we'll have a conversation with him. So yeah.
And I hope we all think about that when we do have conversations with people, is that we're not promised tomorrow. Today's the gift. That's how we call it, the present. So it doesn't matter about the mess and the disagreements. Just love on each other, because we're all in this together.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, the comments are still pouring in. Everybody, please make sure that you leave your comments on Mike Owens' wall. I hope that we're all connected. There's probably so many stories that we didn't get into. So again, for all the family and friends and connections, and Kai Michelson, Scott Truax, Doug Danger. I wouldn't have met Doug Danger if it wasn't for Mike. I wouldn't have met so many wonderful people. And I would not have met you, Kel Harris, producer, director of the King of Kansas documentary. So that's it, man. It's gonna continue. So thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thanks for having me
on.
It's
so great to meet you, Kale.
You too.
Everybody, you've just watched another great episode of the chat session here on the This Way Network. I'm Rodney Allen Rippey, your host. This has been a celebration of life for the one and only Mike Owens, King of Kansas. Take care, all.
God bless you.
God bless.